Hello, everyone. Welcome back to BTEC Philosophers, episode 49.
49, man.
49.
One away from the half century, man.
There we go.
Who would have thought it?
Not a lot of people.
No.
Especially not our agents who were surprised. We've also just today found out we're not on the long list.
For best podcast at the National Comedy Awards, the thing that we promoted one time.
Mm-hmm.
Did you even vote for us in the...
Oh, bro, it was far down in the category. and we were up against Ed Gamble and Have a Word and people like that. We knew we weren't getting
Literally 3 of the 4 nominees have sold out arenas.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure we were there because your agent was on the panel. Anyway, welcome back.
Allegedly.
We've got Dom back in the studio. If you have not listened to the first time we did it, I believe it's like episode 19 or episode 20, Police and the Police. Well, do you want to?
So nice.
For
we had to
people,
have him back twice.
Few more. I think the first repeat guest. We've got a fair few more listeners now. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, cool. Idominik Efeotor. I'm a police officer. Was I on Firearms then?
Yes.
Was I?
Yes, I believe.
Okay,
so.
yeah. Well, I'm still on Firearms.
Yeah, that's one of our most popular episodes, man.
Yeah.
New one, man.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, police officer, black police officer at that. Some people don't like me for that. Some people do. Yeah, I don't know what's the same.
Well, thank you for coming back. And what
You got a bit of grey in your beard, man.
A bit. I got a lot.
You got a lot of grey.
I got a lot. That's stress from the job, yo. That's what being a police officer will do. Last time I was there, I had like 1 or 2. Now it's just grey. So
I'm starting to go grey a little bit on my
you're
head.
not.
I have in my mullet. I'm starting to go a bit grey. There's grey hairs coming through, but I don't mind. I'd rather go grey than go bald.
How do you have a mullet and then cover it with a hat?
Because it's cold in here.
Is the mullet
You can't do that.
is the mullet ironic, or is that you like that?
I like it, but it's a shit haircut that is meant to look shit rather than a shit haircut.
Why
There's a
people
fine
do
line.
that? Why not just get your hair cut properly?
Everyone has the Peaky Blinders haircut. Everyone's got it.
Yeah, but every
Even
time
though the 2 white guys in the room have a mullet at the minute.
every time I talk to a white guy, like, yes, like a postmodern. It's like, don't play it. Just get a straight haircut, like a normal thing.
Just let us live our lives.
White boy joy. White boy joy.
It's just it's just white boy. It's just white. I can't explain.
Can we
it.
have this? We just want this one thing.
We've been oppressed for too long, and we just want our haircut.
So since last time you were here, Dom, the police is fixed now, right?
Yeah, man.
You sorted it out?
Yeah.
Thanks for that, man. We were a bit worried.
I cleaned up real quick. No, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely mad.
That's an official police
Bro,
press code. Yeah, no, it's a bit of a madness.
Yeah, it's just mad. Like, I wake up and like, I know, like, police officers, we kind of know when mad stuff has happened before, or when it's happening, or it's happened. So the Dave Carrot guy, we already knew man was in trouble. You know them ones. But you know when it's like...
Who's this? Just
the most recent one.
Okay, the guy who's just been sentenced for being rapist.
For rape. Yeah. Like, you sort of know. Like, people know, people talk. They're not supposed to talk, I don't think. But it comes out one way or another.
It's an office, in a sense, yeah.
But then, when it comes out in the media, it's like 100 times worse.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I knew about that. But now I know about it.
Right.
Wild. And you're like, damn, son. But... yeah, it's all fixed now, isn't it?
How does something like that happen though? Like if he was on their radar, how does that? I don't understand shit like that. I thought like there was a proper vetting process in it.
We got Mia's off mic, who's also a police officer.
Why did you think that?
Yeah. Like, who told you the vetting was?
I just assumed that the Met were honest. I know I'm joking, but I don't know. Like what is the vetting process? Have you seen that video of the guy doing the security check and he's just like,
Yeah. It's that. It's literally that. It's the okay, look, I got vetted, nearly 10 years ago? Or 10 years ago. So mine was on paper. And it's just asking questions, general questions like, oh, who's your dad? Who's your mum? Blah, 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 blah. Have you got any convictions? Blah, 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 blah. I always find it kind of weird when they have to ask me. You should just take my name and then do your checks.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's helpful, and so it is what it is. But now I haven't even seen what the vetting's like. But I can tell you straight, on my vetting, they lost people's vettings.
Really?
So let that sink in. That was 10 years ago.
yeah.
So they lost, like, it was just like, oh. okay, my bad. You'll get phone calls and it's like, yeah, like we kind of misplaced your vetting. How do you misplace my pieces of paper?
Yeah.
I send
You didn't do anything bad, did you? Nah.
I didn't. I'm good, you know. I'm all right. I'm a nice guy, you know. Once you get to know me.
Sorry, Mr. Lecter, we've lost your vetting, but we think you'd make a fine member of the
Sorry,
Metropolitan.
connection's bad. I'm just in my dungeon right now.
I can't hear you over the screams of the people I'm torturing. You're going to have to call back later. But no, but does that come from a thing where we've had years of austerity, which the police is a public funded service, and like the NHS and things like that, there's been cuts, and the police doesn't actually get any sympathy with cuts.
No,
even though,
none.
Which the NHS, the minute there's cuts and the nurses want to go on strike and ambulance drivers talk about the conditions, you go, yeah, well, do you find the public support it? But then the police kind of can't come out and go, yeah, the reason we're not able to turn up to a lot of things is there isn't enough of us and we've not got the funding.
Let it sink in. Our boss is the government. So we can't be like, yeah, the boss needs to do this and this and that, because they literally will just come out and be like, well, no, you can't. Like the Prime Minister could just literally say to the Commissioner, you're not going to talk about that.
Right, yeah.
just let it sink in,
Well,
the reality of the
I think
situation.
is very politicised in terms of, obviously, Sadiq Khan, if he looks bad when the crime's going up, like, from the government, that kind of helps them, because they be like, look at this guy being terrible on crime. Do you know what I mean? Not that he probably has his own money and he can, you know, adjust it accordingly, but if they kind of cut off funding, it kind of looks bad if London's kind of seen as a mess.
How do you mean?
I just feel like the government, obviously, they're looking at Sadiq Khan, right?
Yeah.
And like they want him to look incompetent, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the sound of London you can hear in the background, right? 12 a.m. and people in road rage.
so I don't know how it works with the funding. Like, do they give the money to the mayor?
Look, I'm not an expert on it, but what I always say to people is, like, there is no, like, there's a blank check. Because if something happens, let's just say there's a massive terrorist incident, no one's worried about how much money, like, oh, do we have enough money to pay this? But there's money.
Yeah,
Do you get me?
yeah.
But obviously they have a budget to which they would want to keep it between. But
Yeah.
the reality is there isn't really. If it was,
They'll find it.
Yeah, you will get it.
Under the sofa.
Do you get me?
You know what I mean?
So
Oh yeah, sorry, go.
no, go on.
So, but that's the other thing that's interesting, like the core of public opinion with things like the police, is years ago when the terrorist attacks happened, and was it PC Park? London Bridge died, and then it came a very real thing that just being a regular, you know, we see the police in this country not like the American police, but here that you can also very easily lose your life. There was massive support for the police in London,
Yeah, of course.
huge support,
Yeah.
and then just a few years later, the Met, I've never seen an institution in such, I don't know, and it's almost streamlined now. The people who are going to want to be going towards it are not going to be the people you want going towards it, because they're going to go, look what I can get away with potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
It's wild, because but that's how the police and society go when it comes to the police. It's they did something good for us. Yay! Oh my God, he raped or kidnapped a child. No.
Yeah,
And it's literally going to be that all the way through. There's no way it's going to be a stable level. So to expect it to be that, it's wild to watch. And to be a police officer, it's wild. It's like yesterday, you lot were literally with my best friend, and now you're literally saying it's your own fault. No one cares if you ain't got money to get into work, or you don't get paid enough. Because right now, think about it. The conversation that's not being spoken about is police pay.
Yeah.
And no one wants police officers to get paid more money right now. Well, right now, you ain't going to get it, but we get paid not great.
Yeah.
Because it's okay, but when you balance it to what the risk and reward, or I wouldn't even say reward, risk, it's terrible.
Well, there's Chris Rock joke. You get what you pay for.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And
Like-
right now they've got some rapists and murderers.
And that's what. But that is that going to come because, like, you know, there's like a tough conversation to have where you see words like defund the police shouted about. You know,
People just be talking, man.
but Jamali Maddox has like the great joke on that where Jamali's got that bit like I don't want to I'll do his bit, but he's got a really funny joke where he goes
in his voice.
Yeah, no. All right. No. Where he says, you know, yeah, defund the police, but not in my neighborhood. And you know, and I feel like that's the thing where you go, you've actually got to have an overhaul of a system, like anything like the NHS or schooling in this country. Things need proper funding to work. The system we're in, like I was telling you on the page on it, the capitalism sucks up the next thing to get taken is the services because they're seen as too costly, and that's that's what's starting to happen. So that's why you're going to end up with police services not working, hospitals wait times being what they are, teachers, you know.
Are police allowed to go on strike?
Nope.
They're not allowed to go on
I
strike.
think there's like an exception, but it's just some wild situation. But no, we can't strike. And I can hear bare people saying good,
Yeah.
but like I'll tell you straight right now, like if the police could have could strike, I was gonna say stricken or stroke, but yeah, it's just.
You're the first police officer I've ever seen not know if you're allowed to strike something or not.
But yeah, if we could, we would have done it ages ago.
Right, yeah.
Because it's been bad for a long period of time. This is not the worst. It's just constantly just going downhill.
So what's morale like, would you say, from what you can see?
Non-existent, bro.
Non-existent.
Non-existent, like,
Been that way for a while, or is it
for a long
low?
time.
Yeah.
For a long time, because a lot of officers, like me personally, like the frontline officers get it the worst. I feel sorry for them. The ones that actually have to go out and do proper policing, like me, I don't do proper policing. I laugh and giggle, I'm a police officer. But the actually going out, putting on that uniform, going out and engaging with community, it's horrendous right now. You've got cars like that, people struggling to find decent cars that work. You're having to walk miles just to take a report from someone and being forced to do it. It's crazy.
It's as well when, you know, it feels like all these things bleed into each other, because you look, you know, where I live in South London, the minute services and that do get caught, crime goes up. So it creates a sort of toxic snowball where, you know, what it's like someone who's gone to gyms and kickboxing gyms all his life, these places and, you know, community centres taking kids from these areas and set a few of them on a certain path, and then the minute those things are cut or those things can't survive anymore, those kids are released back, and now they know how to throw a few punches and kicks, and it creates like a big, it can create an issue, especially in South London. And so that it all just starts bleeding into each other. But I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, I don't know what an overhaul would look like. I don't know where we go from here.
There's no overhaul. People are talking, like, I was listening to the radio last night, LBC. I can say that, right?
Yeah.
I listened to LBC, and it was the shadow minister from Labour of policing and fire and all of that. And she was saying, yeah, we're going to try and make this hub where you have social services and the community. I'm like, what utopian idea have you got? Like, that's a great idea and it would be perfect. It's not going to happen. So don't sell people that on the radio and be like, yeah, this is what we want to do. It's not going to happen. There's no way you're going to have a social worker, a police officer, the council member all in the same building.
Yeah.
In the same, at the same time to resolve issues.
Where's that
for
money
people.
coming from?
Like,
You know what I mean,
the reality is the Metropolitan Police, you need to just be stricter with your rules. Like stuff like where the commissioner came out and people are getting angry at him. People get angry at me for defending him. I'm not defending the commissioner. I'm just being fair. He's a new commissioner, so none of this is his fault, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't been in charge of
That
this.
guy that we saw when we came to that police thing.
That was
is
the last. So
is
he
he gone now?
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay.
He
That
was
was
brilliant.
Stephen House.
Okay, yeah. He was really straightforward and.
A lot of people say that he was brilliant because he was leaving. So
Ah.
you know when you're, and that's not. I'm not taking shots at him. I think he was brilliant.
You think
I it was
because
good.
he was leaving, he could be as honest?
Yeah, you could be wild. He knows he's going. He's like, I'm not here in 10 days, so the Met Police are racist.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not here. Like,
It's like when you're on your. When I was on last at school before I moved schools, and they're like, clear that up, and you're like, fuck off.
yeah. Literally that. Literally that. What are they gonna do to him? Nothing. Right now, he's got a position in what is it? The crime agency. I don't know if. I want to say the National Crime Agency or something like that. Yeah, he's got a position there now. But where was I?
Just in terms of new commissioner.
Yeah, the new commissioner. He's trying his best. What it looks like for me, he's making a concerted effort to weed out people. But he says, and this is what like all the media get onto him for saying, I can't fire the people I want to fire. And people are like, what does that mean? Okay, let me break it down for you how the Met works. Yeah, let me break it down. So I punch Elliot in the face. We're both police officers in the office. I punch him in the face. He goes, "Don't punch me in the face, Mike. You're the supervisor." And you go, "All right, cool. You've got some biases. Let's say you have some biases. Everyone's got a bias, yeah.
Yeah.
Elliot's gone. He's reported it properly. Blah blah blah. And you've gone, well, I know Dom, innit? Dom's cool. I'm gonna deal with this between the lowest level I can. So I'm gonna say, Dom, you're a donut. Don't do that again. That's literally what you say to me. Now, in terms of the police, it's been dealt with. A supervisor has dealt with it. Let's go. You're not happy with that. It doesn't matter. You can kind of appeal, but it doesn't really matter. He's dealt with it. Later on down the line, the Met might have a stance of violence in the workplace it's never going to happen, and if you do it, you're going to get fired. You're like, right, now that happened to me last week. Because like, a week's gone past, the Met's changed its stance. Like, so what are we going to do about that now? The Met are like, well, we've already disciplined him. Now apply that to misogyny, racism, sexism. Apply it to all of those. If your boy is a supervisor, or your girl, or they have like biases, it could be because, you know, we're both black, or we both play football, but they can relate to each other, and you're making decisions. You're laughing. That's why the commissioner can't fire certain people. He knows there's people that are like, oh, he's done this and that to women, but he can't fire them because they've already been disciplined.
How commissioners hired? Is it like a vote or is it just
I
someone?
got a show about that. That was on my show. They get interviewed by the Home Secretary and Mayor.
Okay.
So, yeah, they had an interview process like that, and I think HR are involved as well. But you have to be, what is it? And not, you have to be a certain rank. It's not chief super. It's above, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be a certain rank before you can even throw your name in the hat.
Right.
So the reality is, it's like probably like 5 or 6 people that can really apply.
But that going back to that disciplinary method that you're talking about there, that it's like, I suppose when you're creating a system, you can't see that the problems this is going to cause down the line. And when you look at when the police
You think that?
yeah, I mean, it's not saying that you can't look back on the system and go, hey, we need to undo this.
Of course you can.
No. So when you bring that rule in, at first it's like, yeah, well, we'll deal with things internally. We're all friends here. Let it work.
Yeah, I hate you.
And then years later, when, you know, you're going to bring people in who, because years ago the police would have been majority white men.
Yes,
and then so everyone's in the same club, and then they're not going to understand that, you know, oh, our new black colleague doesn't like the way we speak about him, but oh no, we're just joking, we're all lads here, that sort of thing. And then years later, when you have more integration for people coming into the police, and they're like, no, fuck that, we're saying that that's wrong.
Yeah.
It needs to be listened to, and that's the bit of overhaul. I don't know if you know anything about this.
My point of view on that is, as a black police officer, the way the rules are now, I was thinking about this in the shower before I came. I like the way the rules are now.
Really?
Because guaranteed, if I get disciplined now, if they change rules to be like, well, actually that was incorrect before, and I'm going to go back and look at it, bro, anyone that don't like me will just come after me.
Right. Okay.
They'll be like, oh, like, I got investigated for saying something when I wasn't a police officer. So prior to me being a police officer, I was quoting Dave Chappelle, South Park, and all that stuff. Someone was like, you're anti-Semitic. And I'm like, no, I think it's Matt and Trey Parker, and they're actually Jewish. So it's actually really funny when they say it.
Yeah, Matt Stone.
Yeah, so they came after me for that. So literally someone could go, well, he's already been punished, or I didn't get punished for it, but someone's looked over it and found that, well, I didn't do anything wrong. But someone else could come back and be like, yeah, well, you're anti-Semitic.
Right.
So go away.
Do you think that-
So as a black man, I'm calm. I'm like, listen, as long as I don't do anything too wild, I'm good.
Well, it turns out you can, from looking at the police in a minute, is until you get to like the 20th sexual assault, they start having a look.
Okay, yeah, we've had enough. Yeah.
You know, it is an insane situation, because I empathise. Knowing you, knowing the people that I've met for you, the police coming to see that thing with the commissioner, I was like, hold on, this system. There are people here who are trying to do good. I think the public point of view of just going, fuck the police, all cops are bastards, that doesn't help anything. And you need synergy. You need people working together. So you need the public speaking to people like yourself, like, hey, what's going on? How can we solve this? Rather than this thing we have now where everyone just writes each other off. And that's just going to make... And also, if you just write the police off, to anyone listening who does that, they have the power.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not going to win that fight.
No, never.
You're not. You know, that's.
So where are you at now, like headspace wise? You've been fighting a good fight for a while now. Are you still on that
I'm
journey?
still fighting. Yeah, of course. I'm not gonna stop fighting.
Yeah.
But it's just challenging and trying.
Do you feel like I don't want to get in trouble in terms of you're fighting a good fight within the system? Do you feel like that's still the best way to do it?
It's multifaceted. I had this conversation on some other person. I'm even gonna say their name, but someone else's show, and they that question was asked, and my point of view is everyone needs to fight from every aspect. It can't just be me, and no one's right or wrong, because we all want the same end goal. We just want fairness. So everyone has to fight in their own way, and collectively, even if I'm wrong, let's just say what I'm doing is wrong. It's not the best way to deal with the situation. And the best way to do it is actually not be in the police and then to protest. If you win, I win anyway. Do you get me? So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you get me? As long as I'm not doing anything mad detrimental to yours, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
We should still be able to work collectively. But unfortunately, not everyone's got that mindset, innit?
How does that, you know, do you still get a lot of like members of the general public who question
Mad
why
hate.
you being in the police?
I got some hate this morning. I woke up to it. It was hilarious.
Is it TikTok hate though?
No, this one was on Instagram.
Oh,
But
yeah,
TikTok,
don't listen to those people.
How you do all
Like,
that? Does it get to your mental?
No, because I'm a troll and it's hilarious. So I find it so funny.
Borrowing what they've said to apply to someone else.
Yeah, the funniest thing I find is when on Twitter it's it's blatantly police officers that have created accounts that try to like troll me. I'm like, bro, you're like 40. I was born when the internet was created.
Yeah.
So trolling is what I've been raised on.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't win.
It's like Bane.
Yeah,
I was born in.
Yeah. You can't beat me at this. You cannot beat me at this.
Yeah.
So like, if you see like the way that
They're using full sentences.
full stops and all that. I'm like, bro, LOL, like hashtag. Like I had a police officer block me recently. Actually, it was actually really funny because he was just like, "No, you're a liar," because I said that police officers can't complain. Because you know how like the public are saying, "Oh, why didn't another officer report him?" Officers can report each other's to an extent, but we can't like ring 101 like you lot and complain because we're not allowed to do it. I've done it so many times and they just write back to you and 101 say, "You're a police officer, you cannot complain." There's 43,000 people in the Metropolitan Police that cannot complain. Let that sink in.
Yeah, that's insane.
They can't complain.
But as well, does that come from, you know, like you're saying, there's people want to report each other, you know, people playing dirty and doing that. And just one thing where I'm going to relate it weirdly to our industry. We know people in our industry who are sex offenders.
Yes.
Yes. And
we're gonna write. A
and
report for
it's
you
I will tell you their
Don't
names
write
after.
no report for me, bro.
I can tell you their names after, and nothing is done about it. They're allowed to work, but we all know, but we can't. There's no like in comedy.
Bro.
There's no one to report it to.
In
You
the
know what I
Metropolitan
mean?
Police, I'll tell you a real story, yeah? There's a guy in a police station, I'm not going to name the police station, that isn't allowed to work with females. But because he's been punished already, can't get rid of him.
Fucking hell.
See, when I saw there's a
So, and people will be like, why don't you report him? Listen, I do the most reporting. Everyone knows me.
Yeah.
I could show the emails of you can't report this, you can't report this, you can't report this. Do you get me? But the police know.
the other day, like there was a news story. There's this headmistress. She was saying like to her, she runs an all-girls school. If you see like a lone male police officer, like you shouldn't feel safe or be cautious around them. You see shit like that, and like shit is really broken.
Yeah.
Because some people are seeing that and like, oh, you're being sensationalist, but like if you're saying shit like that, then
Bro, black
you
people
can
have been saying
understand.
that for the longest anyway,
Yeah.
though. So is it really that wild? Like, my mum would say that. If,
Yeah,
like,
but now it's getting to white girls, so you know that's how you know. It's,
that's when it's serious. It's like,
Oh shit! White women are upset right now. Come on.
the abuse has been gentrified, man. It's crazy. You know it's real.
oh, God.
You're gonna start having white women walking around, not calling the cops on their husband. The thing you were saying there, though, I know of a comedian who had a show that was either on radio or TV, just to keep it ambiguous, and it was written into their contract that they couldn't be alone with women in a quite prominent British organisation that would broadcast stuff. Because they kept getting their cock out in front of like
I
female
love
members
when
of staff. and
Elliot
stuff.
tries to speak all formal and legal. He's whispering to Elliot. Allegedly, they couldn't get it out. man.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, the only thing I could think of was Johnson, and I'm like, that makes it work. So when you go, you can't, reporting it, and they should allow reporting and that and stuff. There is a bit of me that understands the minute people go, well, why didn't the police do this and why didn't the police do that? The thing with people who are abusers and stuff, the people around them are a form of the abuse or a shield to protect them. If they're able to manipulate people, they're able to manipulate the people around them as well.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like a big thing. I think people always consider when someone turns out to be like this, they think that they're just in the corridors singing about it.
Yeah,
They're not doing that. And I think that the way we approach these things has to be like, what in the vetting process, and you know what you're saying now, there should be a thing in the police where you're able to go.
So there is. Let me expand on it. So there's a grievance process, but it's a joke.
Right.
Do you get me? It's literally a joke. It needs to be reformed. So that I should be able to just be like, do you know what? This guy, he's wild. So you guys need to do something about it, and then someone does something about it. Not, oh well, yeah, well, there's not enough proof. It's like, no, just trust me. He's what? If I have to come to you, that's how you know. And so they need to reform it. I can't tell them how to do it. I probably could, to be honest, but they ain't pay me enough. But they need that's what needs to change, because too many times I've reported police officers and I just get an email saying, "Nah, you can't do that. You need to take up with your line manager."
How are whistleblowers in that scene in the foot? Are you immediately like?
Oh, there's
ostracized?
people that hate me.
Yeah.
Just for being like on the news, because I've spoken to newspapers before, and they're just like, I got told off for like speaking to the mayor in a public event, dragged into an office.
Was that before or after you came on our pod? I was going to ask you
after,
about.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
What
What was that like? I saw that video. That looked wild, man.
That was cool. The mayor can't. He's a joker. He still thinks I'm part of the BPA, which I'm not.
What's that?
The Black
The
Police Officers
Black
Association.
Panthers. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It could be that too.
Yeah. What's wrong
But-
with being part of the BPA?
What, you asking me personally?
The Black Police Officers Association. What's wrong with having one?
Oh, I'm just not.
Okay, yeah.
So you know, someone's just got it wrong. He just assumes because I'm black that I'm part of it. So I was just checking out. I was like, bro, no, I'm not. I'm just here as a black man, just saying, like, highlighting some like, problems.
It's always nice when you're white and you see someone else put their foot in it, right? really makes you
And then he doubled down, you know. He did it again. I met him again. I spoke to him again at a different public event, and he did it again. And I was like, bro, like, no, I'm not. Like,
Because I saw that. Just give context. You were at an event, and then you go up and you're like, "I protect your life, innit? Like,
yeah,
fucking
essentially.
fix up."
Yeah,
Not those
well,
exact words.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Protect black police officers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He kind of waffled for a bit, and then is it Sophie Linden?
Yep.
Sophie Linden, the mayor. She's the mayor of policing. She basically highlighted what the police were doing in terms of they were Baroness Casey's report was coming out, which was great. You should read it. I can sum it up for you. The police are still racist, and she and it's basically what they're going to do after that. So right now, the police, where officers are being investigated at a higher rate, it's crazy. So let this sink in. The last two high profile police officers doing wild stuff. I was going to swear, but I'm not going to do that. No, it's not that, because the DPS will just discipline me.
Oh, okay.
That's the police, by the way. The last two were Carrick and what's Sarah Everard's guy? What's his name? Wayne Cousins. Yeah. So those are the last two guys. So when was the last time you heard of a black police officer doing some wild shit like that? I swore, sorry. Exactly. But we're like 8 times more likely to be investigated.
I swear down.
So the Metropolitan Police has the capacity to actually investigate properly. Do you get me? They can actually do it because they're all over me all the time. Pause. But at the same time, when it comes to other, officers, for some strange reason, and I'm not gonna say it's because they're white.
Yeah.
It's just a coincidence that they happen to be white.
Right.
And there's the other one. Who's the other one that killed himself recently? I don't know his name, so I don't want to guess it. But there's a high-ranking officer in a paedophile ring. Or no,
I'm not
images.
sure.
So he's been he's been found to have images and of
He's taken
with children, wild stuff like that.
He took his own life.
Yeah, he took his own life.
That made the news, or?
That's all over the newspapers. Well, it's not all over the front, but it's there. Like I read it.
Wow.
It's there.
prominent as the two cases that we just now discussed. It was definitely in the news, but I'm surprised how
Quiet.
it was in comparison to the as in, I'm not saying that any crimes are more severe than others, but like there's for the kind of outrage that it would generate, it was kept quite.
Yeah.
Unless he gets caught on nonce hunters, this country won't care. Like, that's basically how we work as a country. Unless someone's there in like an Asda car park. Like, we're not.
It's always Asda car park.
We don't want to know. But I can tell you, there's we've brought him up. For some reason he's come up, we can't say his name, but for 4 weeks in a row now in the podcast, when we did Two Vegan Idiots, the famous Jimmy Savile level is going to come out about someone in show business after they die.
Do you know what's really weird? So to jump in.
Yeah.
There's the commander that's got Savile, the one that's investigating all the crazy stuff. It's such an unfortunate last name.
What's his
I
name?
feel sorry for him. He's something Savile. He's like a superintendent. He's not done anything wrong.
Right, but
It's just he's got the last name Savile, and it's like he's investigating all these like bad officers.
no.
And I'm like, you're gonna get trolled so hard. I was just like,
There
oh,
was-
bro, man, I feel sorry for you.
There was that guy on Twitter the other day who put up a picture of him on a beach in an island, and his name was Jeffrey P. Epstein,
Oh,
and
God.
everyone was like, "That P is holding up." They were posting, like, you know the memes of Spider-Man on the train.
Yeah.
Well, he's ever saying that's what this letter P is doing. That is funny how there's just some names in it that are, Bill Burr used to have a really funny bit about there'll never be another Hitler. Like we've had to retire, like a sportsman who's too good.
Even
We've had to
Adolf.
retire the
Yeah.
jersey.
But like, can you get high up in the police, right, without just by being clean? Do you have to? Does everyone have some dirt on them? You know what I mean?
I don't know, like me personally, I can't tell you that answer because people, when I speak to people, they're like, oh yeah, there's people that have that mentality that the higher ranking officers are all just dirty.
I mean, I don't even mean like dirty and corrupt in terms of you have to like play the game. Like you can't just be like, I'm reporting this guy. You have to like,
I ain't gonna be the commissioner.
yeah.
Me, I'm never making it.
Yeah.
Not after sitting down here joking about just Jimmy's. Like, it's not gonna happen. So you have to have a certain level of like, I wouldn't say credibility, but it's you do have to keep yourself out of the line of fire.
Have to go by the rule book a little bit.
Yeah, more. You can't really step out of line. So there's officers that are supportive of me that are still of rank. Do you know what I'm saying? But they have to be quiet about it.
But that in itself is like the idea that what you're doing is out of line. Even
wild,
in
isn't it?
itself,
Yeah.
is kind of crazy.
But the joke is, it's crazy. So the current commissioner, I spoke to him, and he's supportive. He's like, oh, I'm really interested in what you're doing. I'll come on your show.
Oh,
So, and I'm like, cool. But then I tweeted this recently. I said it's such a strange paradox that the Metropolitan Police, in one hand, the commissioner's saying what you're doing is actually kind of decent, and then the other hand, they're like, nah, fuck you, we're gonna fire you, we're gonna get rid of you. It's weird. It's like that to me, that epitomizes what's wrong with the Met. You've got the boss saying you're cool, and then you've got someone underneath him saying, nah, I don't like you, you're getting it.
How long have they been threatening to fire you though?
10 years.
I feel like
they've been, well, the most recent one is the last year.
I feel like is it just kind of like a threat to keep you in line? Sometimes I think
You say that next week.
Well, I don't know. It's not really working. I'm here right now, so that threat's not. It's like some hollow threats. But they as I said, they can actually do their job. So the Met, as much as people may say, oh, they're terrible, they don't know what they're doing. When it's time to, unfortunately, investigate some black officers, they're real good at doing that. Do you get me? So it just makes you wonder, do you just hate me that much? That you want to do your job properly, or what? I don't know.
Do you think it's like, and this is kind of a strange question, like, do you think they would see themselves as racists, or do you think they're people who are blindsided that they don't realize they are racist?
So,
Not to say that you're saying they're racist, just to you know.
oh no, I'll call the racist
Okay,
ones
yeah,
racist.
cool.
That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think that you've got it's separated into groups. So you've got the honest officers, regardless of colour, that want to do their job properly, and they may find what I've done something wrong, and they're just doing their job normally.
Yeah.
Cool, no problem. Then you get the officers that are just like, well, I don't like this guy because he's talking too much and he's too big for his boots, and the black guy needs to stay underneath my foot. So I'm going to investigate him. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's different groups. So I will never say like, oh, they're all just racist because they're investigating me. No. Sometimes I do dumb shit. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do silly stuff to which I should be reprimanded for. That's not what the issue is. My issue is how you've got officers that doing all the raping and all that stuff, and they manage to rape 23 people, and then all of a sudden they're in trouble. And me, I get alleged of breaking a pencil, and it's, you're going down, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, make it make sense and balance it out. So, and I think that's where the discrepancies, that's where the anger comes from. A lot of the black police officers, they're angry. It's like, well, why don't you investigate him like that? And the Asians too. So not to shout at you guys, the Asians get it bad too. Do you get me? Everyone, all the minorities, but the blacks get the worst. Then it's the Asians, and then it's everyone else. But yeah, man, it's.
I know one other person who, I know a few people in the police actually, but I know one person who went into the police. Now I was a bit like, oh, I don't know. This person played cricket together, and he started to not be happy about like the selection of all the Pakistani cricket players.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and then so we used to play cricket together, and he would play with everyone and stuff, and then it was always like, oh, they're getting put up to opening because they're all fucking cousins and stuff, and it was a bit of that, and it was like, and it's sort of like he was a nice lad, and then I think it was that thing where he'd speak to us because we were white like that, thinking we were going to be like, yeah, and we were like, well, they are better than us.
Yeah, I mean, it's their national sport.
Yeah, they're a lot better than us, and then years later, I found out he worked for Transport for London, and then I found out he was a police officer, and I was a bit like, okay, maybe you shouldn't be a police officer. But when you're like, I don't know, maybe they're all right.
Because that's the thing, like vetting. How do you vet a racist? Can you just be like, are you racist? No. And then
yeah,
I'm not using black pen. Can I get you know what I mean? Like, how do you vet it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you would
You can't.
There's no way until they're in there and then they do something racist and then give you more chances. You know what I mean?
But we had this conversation about racism already in the police.
Yeah.
Is it even an offence? Is racism a criminal offence? I say no.
Really?
It's not. You calling me the N-word, you will not get arrested for that. You'll get arrested for public order offence. That's racially motivated or aggravating factor. So it's just additional.
So is that so you're saying that's a good or bad fit? Are you saying like where you stand with that? So I thought you were saying.
I just find it strange that the Met say that they're against racism, but it's not an offence and they won't fire people for it.
It's okay.
So
right, yeah.
I'm not saying that it should or it shouldn't. Like we can choose a side. So let's just say I say yes, racism should be a criminal offence. Cool. The Met should fire people for it, and the Met say they're against it 100%. So they should fire people for it. Do you get me? So and it's the same for all the other offences, but racism isn't one.
It seems like it's in a way. I know this happens. It happens with any companies and stuff. It's not just the Met, that there's people when they're in power, like you're saying about this person who's not allowed to work with female officers. It's almost as if they don't want to fire this person because of the embarrassment of admitting someone like that got through, rather than going, oh, we need to get this person out. So it waits till it all blows up, because if you have so many of these, plates spinning, especially some of them are going to crash down, and you're going to end up with the incidents like you've had where these psychos
what's the PR like right now? Are they like fucking? They must be shitting themselves, man.
They ain't got no PR. Right now, I'll be real with you. It feels. Oh, should I say this? It feels like, I'm not going to say the Met, I'm just going to say it feels like they're waiting for a black guy to mess up.
Really?
It feels like they need to be like, yo, we need someone else other than these guys.
And then they can
I hope it's not
point
true.
to the diversity over there.
I hope it's not true. Because as I say, bad people are just bad people regardless of colour. It doesn't matter what colour you are, you can still be a bad person and a douchebag. So... yeah, but I'm hoping that I'm 100% wrong, because they make examples out of black officers way too much.
Really?
And it's really bad, man. This is what I'm standing up. This is what I'm shouting about all the time, because we're being over-investigated. It's silly. I can give you examples. I've got messages on my phone from officers that messaged me, just see my podcast, saying, oh man, I'm being investigated because they won't mind if I give examples, because because someone's made an allegation against me, saying that I acted inappropriately with like a victim of crime. And then when the police have investigated it, found out that they haven't done it at all. They've spoken to the victim of the crime. They're like, oh, no, he was perfect. Here's my phone. Here's like, you can see the conversations. They're still going after, man.
Right.
They're still trying to fire him. For what? Like, these are things that actually happen. They're actively happening in the Metropolitan Police to black officers. So it's messed up. Do you get me? So this is why it angers me and it angers black officers so much when you see white officers coming out with a list this long of offences that they've all been told about or they've been disciplined for, and they've still got a job. Because for us, it's just one and out. It's not even three strikes. It's just, you done that, bye.
Well, that was the thing with Wayne Couzens, wasn't it? I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that, but he
Yeah, you can talk about it.
He flashed, didn't he? He was caught for public indecency.
Yeah, doing some mad stuff.
Yeah, and then was, still allowed.
But that goes back to, if I'm not going to blame the supervisor, but I'm saying this could be an example of how he gets away with it. He could do something, and his supervisor may be like, well, it's my friend. And, he wouldn't do that. Oh, I understand. They give context to it. And rightly so, but not in that circumstance.
Yeah.
Do you get me?
So he could have just gone, I was having a piss on a night out, and
Yeah.
then someone...
He was under stress. You know what I mean? Like,
But this is what I'm saying. This is what the supervisors should still be able to do that. You should still be able to discipline people and say, well, actually, given the context of the situation, like, he punched that guy because this. I can understand that. It's still wrong, but I'm not going to fire you because I understand how the whole situation came about. And that is vital for policing, to be honest, and you need to have that.
So what would you say, like, because obviously you seem a bit, like, cynical of the whole thing. What would you say your actively short-term goal is trying to get to a place of?
I need the whole world to know how much black officers, Asian officers are being investigated disproportionately by the Metropolitan Police. And then I need the Metropolitan Police to make a concerted effort to rectify that. Whether that's... that you don't rectify that simply by just hiring more black people. You need to educate people, educate all their officers to understand the biases that they have, because everyone's got biases. I've got biases. He supports Crystal Palace. I inherently do not like him as much as I like you, Mike. But then again, you're a Chelsea fan.
I'm a Chelsea.
And that's quite sad.
Sunderland
I'm
fan
sure
as
it's all to do with the football team.
But you get what I'm saying? Everyone has biases. Understand your bias.
Yeah.
And then balance them out, because I have them, but I can still do my job fairly. Do you get what I'm saying? And most people can do it. So
Everyone, that's why I always have things when people, you see in comedy, people go on stage and they act like they haven't got any unconscious biases or anything like that. And it's like, you go, what, nothing? Like, I saw this guy.
When I was 8, Albanians stole my bike. So if I was a police officer and I'm dealing with an Albanian bike case,
Did you know,
shit's gonna come
you know
up.
the Albanians that did it?
No, I didn't. I think I saw them one time on a skate park with my bike. And
And
I
you
was
just
I was too young to...
Bro, that happened with me. Some guy robbed me when I was like 11. He was like 16. It was a big difference. Came up to me. Look at the way I'm making this story. So I it was massive, innit? And came over. Was like, "Oh, give me your phone. Don't worry, I'll bring it back to you here at 6." And I just didn't want to get beaten up, so I gave it to him. Went back at 6. Obviously, never gave it back. And I just used to see him around and said, "No." It's like that guy who once put me in a bin who's at the top of my hill, and I want to go fuck him up.
I did this recently.
No, I did it when I was like 11 or 12.
Do you know what the worst one is? Is where it's like an active, but like you're involved because, hey, I'm just gonna ride your bike to the shop. And you're like,
you know where this is going.
I'm never gonna see this again. And you wait there. You're like, well, he might come back.
Yeah.
When I was in year 7, some of the older kids in school like beat me up and stole my hat. And I told a police officer, and he went, "What?" and drove me in the cop car to school and went up to the kids and went, "Give him back the fucking hat." Everyone called me.
And that's policing.
I gave them the
Yo, but that's policing.
Yeah.
That's real police. Like, that's... I did that.
Terrible for your reputation.
No one wanted to be friends with me.
Legit snitch, but you got the job done, isn't it? You just advocate for
in
the
the back of the car, like,
Look, that man there, officer.
What was that officer's name, man? You need to shout him out.
I don't know.
Got you your hat back, bro.
But yeah, there was it was what was the one? I remember one time my mate, some lads tried to stab him over it. It was just a bit of nonsense, and we ended up in a back.
So pause. South London, innit? Like, that's how you know he's from South London. Yeah, he tried to stab him. Don't worry.
The same thing. I was like, sure, it's just some foolishness.
It was
Sorry, what?
It was just all a bit of it's crazy. I don't know if I could ever tell it on here because it's basically someone I knew ended up getting killed because of it.
Yeah, forget that.
Yeah. And we were in the back of a car. And then, like, the officers had to take us to a station for a statement or something. They were taking us for a statement, and we ended up having a chat with him in the car. And they were like, there was sound. And then we ended up telling him, we got in the conversation. We were like 15. We started telling them about prank calls. And one of them was like, "Oh yeah, this is really, I shouldn't admit this as a cop, but we used to at my school use the phone in the 6th form to call like fire brigade, pizza people." It was like, "I'm not telling you to do it," but it was like, it was great.
It's humans, isn't it?
And that's community policing.
Yeah.
That is community policing
But
right there.
that's why they say in America, one of the things that happened with the militarization of the police was that you lost the cop who walked the beat in the area, who knew everyone.
They're trying to bring that back now.
Right, who knew like, that's the alcoholic couple that have an argument. Just tell them to shut the fuck up. That's it, rather than sending in someone who doesn't know what's going on. They go by the book, don't take into anything in the situation and something.
In an ideal society, you'd have a social worker there. You'd have sort of someone to look after children. The police officer wouldn't necessarily have to do all those jobs in one, be all that. but we don't have an ideal society. So I guess police officers sometimes being asked to do things way above their remit.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And trying to manage it all with people who hate them and distrust them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult, but it swings roundabouts for me. For me, I know the public don't necessarily like me, but at the same time they need me. So I'm still doing my job because I've chosen to do my job. So that's the key thing there. So when officers can complain, and I hear that because I complain too. But at the same time, you've chosen to do this job, so just do the job properly, innit, or to the best of your ability. So you see all that stuff like walking down the road and building rapport. That should be just standard.
And taking yourself off the Albanian cases. Like, listen, I'm not the guy for this.
But do you know
I've got
what's
some
mad?
unresolved dramas.
Do you know what? It's mad. You should be able to stand up and say that. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Like, and a line manager should be able to go, all right, cool. Do you get me? Because I've been in a situation with some of my old line managers, and I've been like, I had to deal with, because I was on a gangs unit. And there's this one kid, and people don't get to me, but this one kid got to me because he didn't understand his own mortality, and it really pissed me off. I was like, you're gonna die soon, and it's gonna annoy me. I just got out of the car and I said to my boss, yo, I'm not driving. I'm getting in the other car, and he said, all right, cool, Dom's gonna kill him, so someone else sit there. And he understood the situation. For me to say, I can't deal with this kid, and he just went, cool, boom, no problem. Didn't shout at me, didn't moan at me, there was no issue.
Yeah.
It was just swap them. Swap, you drive that car, you drive that car. And the police, there are a lot of officers that can do that. There's loads and loads and loads. And I know I'm sitting there and I'm saying the police is rubbish or whatever, blah, blah, blah. There are loads that are actually sick. They're so good. So good. And I'm not going to use that stupid reference of the a few bad apples. Me and Mia were joking about this. And the joke was, the reason why we think there's so many few bad apples is because the Met Police are so bad at maths. A few to them. But yeah,
There was a protest, innit? Somebody put some apples out.
1,071 apples and said that's a few, but
1,071 apples.
or something. Yeah,
It was
I don't
white
know
woman,
what that's
it was
a
white
reference
woman, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No one's finding all that. No black people.
You know, it came straight from our uncle's tree. Yeah, absolutely. But that
ACAB on all the apples.
yeah, but that's the one that that's the things like that. I hate it within discourse where there comes like one side starts screaming, "All cops are bastards." And I'm like, what is your actual dealing with the police? Are you just reporting on something you've seen happen on Twitter?
I think some people
like,
see that as allyship. Like, I'm going to go hard on behalf of
yeah, I mean it's
my community. Of like,
I mean, that's okay as long as you do that with like all the actual stuff that matters.
yeah, and that's my stuff with all of those things. Like we were having a conversation earlier, speaking of like trolls on Twitter. Like Graham Linehan went for me this week. He wrote like Father Ted and the IT crowd and stuff. Started like tweeting me because all I said was I don't really understand why he's so involved in the trans stuff, but like it's just weird. It's just a weird person to be involved. I don't know if you know what he's up to on Twitter.
No.
But it's just a bit of a madness.
I just watch your stuff. I don't even agree with half of your stuff. But I don't care. Like, it's like I don't have to agree with you on everything.
I try to remain like take the piss out of both sides, like centre. I just try to not. I don't.
no one likes what you do.
No, but I try not to be like.
That's why we're both sides. So like, they don't like.
I don't want to go over because it's easy. You either go over one way and go like fuck the Tories, or the other way and you call everything the woke brigade.
Yeah.
And I don't like either of those angles where you have to align yourself with something. Feels a bit. I want to take things like is that case by case, and I might be left wing on something, and I might be right wing on something. You know, I think there's places for right wing.
What being a human being is, you know.
But yeah, I think people align themselves with say it's like a sports team, innit? It's like Arsenal. Like Arsenal fans are all complaining that the FA disciplines them so much, but they're for fuck's sake.
Brought the Arsenal top out, man. Looks like it's gonna
And
happen.
you got Arteta who I hope you get disciplined for that. But then you got Arteta who kicks off on the touchline, and then Arsenal fans are like, well, why are we being disciplined and stuff?
Everyone's
to their
got, but
sports
like,
team.
if people are just aware of their biases, like you were saying, or aware of their hypocrisies, do you know what I mean? Because when it becomes a weird thing where you get white girls in a black police officer's face saying you're a monster, it's like.
But then,
Wow, I've had that.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Did you just want to fucking tell her to shut the fuck up? That
No,
was
I'm
how
a
did you-
troll. I just laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the best thing, the counter to that is tell them how much you love them. You appreciate their input. That's it. I love you. And that just throws people. Like,
Yeah.
He loves, wait, what?
It's so,
It's like Jesus.
Yeah. Just Jesus them.
it's so
I think it's probably about just on what you were saying there. I think I've spoken with Dom about this several times. I think it's probably about finding I think people have different boundaries of acceptable discrimination.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
for example, if you make a joke about somebody and between friends, you're like, "Oh yeah, we're just joking," but then you put that in the same. Somebody else might put that in the same category as the Holocaust, for example.
Yeah.
And it's completely unacceptable. But lots of people have different boundaries of acceptable discrimination, especially when the disciplinary process. The subjectivity that's attached to that, somebody might not agree with something. That's why you get so many different outcomes. So you have to regulate everybody. So this is what we stand for. This is not what we stand for. End of. Get that baseline, and then maybe it might balance itself out. And they're really trying to do that at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
They are trying to do that at the moment.
Although, on that point, I have heard a story about someone in a unit which are supposed to look into the police. I'm not going to name their names. And they had a meeting and someone said, it's not that racist. I'm like, is there a spectrum of racism, being racist?
Well, I guess
And
There's stuff like that.
I mean, you can't teach that. You should be, if you just say it's all bad, then you're
if
you
you've
should
got
be
not
fine.
that racist isn't great, is it? Like,
Now
they're
you're
aligned,
justifying
obviously
it, and you're
not,
like, it's not. It's all right. It's only a little bit racist. It's like, no, we can't go down that line.
yeah, that is always a thing. I do think that when people, when someone goes, "Oh, I worked with this person and I made racist comments," you do go, "What was the
scale?
the scale of where
Not
they
even the
said
scale,
something?"
really
like,
should be the context of the racism. So, are you making a joke? Are you a comedian? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're a comedian and you're making jokes about current affairs and someone perceives it as to be racist, and then you hear it and you're like, well, actually, no, he was making a joke about something. No, that's different. If you're just walking around saying I hate black people because they're black and their guns and blah 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 blah, then yeah, no. You know what I'm saying? So there's context, you can, but I don't think that should be on that spectrum. There shouldn't be a spectrum for racism. It shouldn't be.
There are some things that you can't contextualize. Racism is racism.
Yeah.
Even to the most. I'll give a really simple example. This happened years ago, and I'm happy sharing it. It was had come off night shift. My second night shift. I was about to go into a set of days off, but in the station where I worked, won't name it, there were co-ed changing rooms. So you had boys and girls both getting changed in the same room, but there were curtains, so it was fine. Which were never really used, but weird. Anyway, I'm walking down the corridor, down the long corridor towards the end to get out, and the team who are just about to start morning shift to take over from everybody else were starting. There's a guy at the very end who's at the door where I'm about to walk out, and I'm walking up, and he then clicks his heels at me and does the Hitler salute. And I looked at him at this point, exactly like your face is right now. I looked at him and I said, "Are you doing that because I'm German or because I'm black?" And he said, "Oh, it's just funny." And I was like, "To who?
Yeah.
Don't do that again." Now, other people saw that happening, and it really bothered me. So a couple of days later, I went back and I spoke to a supervisor about it. He said, "Well, you have to put this to pen and paper. Are you sure you want to put this to pen and paper? Are you sure?" And at this point, I was very young in service, So I just thought, you know what? Just leave it. And I saw that same guy a couple of days later, and I said, "Don't ever do that to me again." Because the only reason why I said that out loud is because on CCTV, which has no audio, which was above your head, somebody would have seen that, and you would have got into big trouble. Because I thought, you know what, now's not the time to stick my head above the parapet.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. When the culture influences the way you think and feel
Yeah.
right.
about racism, like myself, like now, it would be a no-brainer how that would go. But at the time, I thought, you know what, I'll be causing trouble if I report him for that. Do you see what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about, acceptable boundaries. You think, even if my best friend did that to me, I'd still raise an eyebrow and be like, you know what, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about in terms of how you add in context. There's adding in context of a joke, and then there's stuff which is actually racist. We just need to strip it back and understand what racism looks like. And that's okay to say that. Do you know what? We need to reevaluate this, because sometimes people have differentiating opinions.
Yeah.
But from that moment on, say, okay, right now we're moving forward, and we're not gonna deviate from this line.
Yeah.
That's sorry. I feel like I've really brought.
No,
Carry on.
not at all. It's, it's fucked up. You should never have to have a nosy car in a workplace meeting.
Yeah,
it should go without saying.
If you have different supervisors having different lines, I mean, across the board, I mean, that's where you're going to get the confusion.
That's where the issue lies.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
The This is what I'm saying. I always say the people that deal with the discipline or the investigations and all that, it should either be all the same person. It should be the same person over and over again. So at least if I know at least that guy's, if he's racist or she's racist or they're sexist, it's consistent.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying? We know all the blacks are going that way and the Asians and you're all getting fired and the rest are fine.
Yeah.
But at least we know.
Right, yeah.
It's the inconsistency that really frustrates people because it's like, oh yeah, Elliot, I don't know, stole Jaffa cakes. Oh no, even better one. Elliot, what was it?
Who is the actual thing? That
Yeah, the actual thing.
It was a Jaffa cake.
No, not that one. There's another one. The
Actually
one.
stole donut.
On the train. Elliot used his train pass incorrectly. Got himself fired. Dom beat a kid with a taser. Didn't get fired.
And I
That is a real thing.
Oh my god.
So we've heard allegedly.
Bro, you can actually taser someone. Didn't actually taser them. Beat them with it.
Fucking it. Were they in like a life or death situation? What was...
No.
We don't know.
No, because if they were, why would you be disciplined?
Turn on the taser, bro. What's going on?
That is a legit. Those two things.
No, I don't need no
happened.
electricity. I'm going out armies.
Don's been talking about this for the longest time in terms of just the inequality. I mean, you go for it. Like,
It's so disproportionate. It's so just the balance is way off in the Met. They need to just sort that out.
This is what I feel when I go on subjects like the hitting someone and stuff. Because we've had this conversation before. Because I cannot believe the level of training. I spoke to a fair few officers about this. What they train people to deal with, in terms of on like the street. It's like none of that shit they show, anything that I've seen or anything that I've been told about, is ever going to work.
Yeah, no,
It like
doesn't work.
What do you mean?
that it's not serious. Like my girlfriend's trained to be an occupational therapist. They had to do a course one day about here's what you do if you're in a room and someone starts getting violent and stuff. And she came back and was telling me it, and I was like, right, that's not going to happen. Like that is, nobody just does that and then you do that.
Okay, if you do step one,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I'm a hobbyist who is a very good Muay Thai fighter. You know that in there is you're trying to control chaos.
you're supposed to do a chokehold here, not pull out a knife. What's going on?
Yeah, what's good?
And there's rules within like a jiu-jitsu tournament or a Muay Thai match, so you can at least partially guess. All right, they're probably going to throw a kick or a punch or bring me in a clinch. Out in an environment where there aren't those rules, God knows what can happen. So like when I see videos of like the police using extreme force against people, sometimes a bit of me is like, what happened 30 seconds prior to when this camera started going? Sometimes I'm saying, because God, like you can, and I have seen videos where like I saw it one time at the football. There was a lads, they were taunting at the police. A lady walked by, the police officer thought she was in it, pushed her over. Everyone's got it on film, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Like you've just pushed a.
Is it unrealistic to like say, oh, well, the police should have stayed composed at all, because they're human beings.
Okay, just put yourself in there.
Yeah.
Would you stay composed? Me personally, I stay composed in most situations, or I pretend to be. But that's because I know I can take care of myself.
But most people would assume that police, you guys have been trained to, like.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. Where did that come from? Because I'll be real, the police don't push that. The police aren't out here like, yeah, we train the best. No, they don't say that. The Metropolitan Police don't come out in all these adverts and stuff and say that they're the greatest trained and every officer can take care of themselves. So I don't know where that came from.
I think it's always been known that, like, I've always had the thought of opinion. If you start shit with a police officer, they can and they will beat the fuck out of you, and they'll probably get away with it.
Same with beef eaters, you know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Beef eaters at Tower of London.
Yeah, man. If you get in their face, man, I'll fuck you up.
What? you mean the palace guy? What the fuck?
The guys in the red jacket and the afros.
That's the Queen's Royal Guard. Isn't it? That's not.
I've
that's
seen
not the
videos, people getting away and they'll push you.
Oh no, the beef eaters happened at the Tower of London. There was a kid in the way of the line.
He just
And
went through.
my
Fuck
mate,
around and find out.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
the policy, yeah.
I mean, it's the graph.
Tom, we have a mate who was on this a few weeks ago, Tom Horton. His dad was in charge of the entire British military, and he's a comedian. And he then lived in the Tower of London. So his dad, because his dad became constable of the Tower, so his dad was like the person dealing with that. And Tom does a lot of TikToks about living in the Tower of London. And Tom's dad thought that Tom had uploaded that video of the people marching through like the young child. Rang him up and like, Thomas, what are you fucking doing? Thomas, like, I wasn't filming that for content. My videos
Also,
are more like, here's Mary's chamber.
There's so many war crimes. There's so many war crimes.
Here's where we walk through black children. Like,
There's so many war crimes he can incriminate his dad on.
That one.
There's so much paperwork that he has.
his dad's an interesting guy, man. That guy, he'd never come on here, but like, he is a fascinating dude because like I find the higher up you go in like British Army and stuff, and you speak to him about things like the Iraq and Afghan war, like they're the people who knew they shouldn't be there from like the off. Not saying that he thought that, but they seem to be the people who are like, yeah, you can't, like you're sort of saying, going, if you want to control a country, like you need every bit of funding going towards a war effort and the people are not going to support that. And it's sort of similar to a way in the police where you go like, we should put a lot of funding into redoing the system for the police, and then instead of, calling for it to be defunded, imagine, calling defund the police is the same as calling for these Tories who are getting in trouble for shouting that our people should pay for the NHS. Like,
I ain't gonna lie, it's more of an American thing.
Are you gonna call a crackhead?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do?
They are strong though.
They are
Challenge, not crackhead.
Sorry. Sorry.
Someone that's suffering from.
Someone who's suffering from addiction. Are you gonna call that person?
Crack
Do
influence.
you have to use all that? Do you have
No,
to
I
use
don't
all
have
that
to. Just
language?
because I always say it to him. That was a slide that had nothing to do with morality.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, because I was wondering, like, if you have that thing, because this is the thing we have to watch in comedy now, is like terminology we used growing up is now not acceptable to say on stage.
We're doing that now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, say you were to use
We've
like
not done it today.
not today.
If we could train crackheads though, like let's be honest though, that could be part of it. If we could get
South
like
Park would've done it.
unionize them,
South Park already done it.
they already done that.
Crack baby Olympic.
Crack baby Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if we could get them like in the police,
What, to lift like timber and stuff, and then
Yeah.
start walking around and
just like because there's no bobbies on the street. But what if there were crackheads who were like on the street?
Yo, DPS, you see, I'm not even laughing at this. So don't even message me saying that that's gonna be the email. Someone has reported you because you made reference to crack babies and Labour. I didn't laugh.
oh my god, I would so love if this podcast was to make it into
Submitted as evidence, innit?
To make it as New Scotland Yard,
And
you're
then
just there.
you two jokers get called as witnesses. That's
Yeah.
even better.
It's just got our Instagram handles on it as like
We're part of an ethics presentation. This is what you don't do.
when they're training new officers. There's just a picture of me and Mike.
Don't go on podcasts where they talk about crack babies.
But yeah, that whole. Are we cool to run over a little bit, Lucas?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, those. The things I was talking about there, like terminology being brought in and stuff. Like it's a wider case than just both our jobs, but in comedy, I know people who might be like 40 or 50, and they go on stage one day. They're at a university gig. They say a word that was fine back when they started comedy, and they haven't written a new bit, and the bit stays the same. And then all of a sudden, I knew this one comic, who used to have this routine where he quite clearly had a problem with like gay people. And then he started a routine one day when I saw it. I didn't do the routine enough times, but the audience really went for it. So then he started bringing in like homophobic slurs into the bit just because he was finally able to like let free. Best I ever saw him do. Like, he just fucking killed, and you're like, oh my god, there's still places that like think like this, that like once these people like can find their own audience.
Well,
and
to be
can
fair,
get
that I think that should apply to the police.
I'm saying it. Yeah. I'm
Hey,
not,
blackies.
yeah. I'm not saying. Yeah. I'm saying like if it's happening in our job, then it definitely should happen. It should happen elsewhere. Like, I wasn't going just to apply it to us.
Imagine if like a police, he gave you like good advice, but then he ended it on a slur. That'd be like, I'm gonna let you off this time. I know you guys
That
can't.
hasn't happened.
That's why I'm not saying that.
Exactly.
There's a reason why I ain't saying that.
There's a reason
Because
why we're
I'm
both
not
sitting
saying.
here completely silent. We're like, they're laughing about this.
Yeah, you're
Oh
laughing,
my
but that's
God.
just real. Like,
Oh my god, that's so. There's been like people who've got like maybe pulled over and they go, "Yeah, we know what you're like with driving," and then they
100.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's real.
But is there then? But so they got pulled over and let off. unnecessarily.
Well, the eloquent way to put it is they'll be pulled over for the biases that the police officer holds, and they may actively vocalize the bias, and while letting them go.
Yeah,
How do
There you
you?
go.
How I don't know.
But please use that as a bit.
Oh my
I
god.
said that quite well. Didn't I?
that's actually good. Yeah.
I don't know how I'd take that.
What would be yours?
I don't know.
You mullet boy.
Yeah. Come to think of it, mine's. Yeah, but I don't know. How would you take that if you got pulled over? You're being let off,
Yeah.
but then it's coming from a place of like.
Yeah.
It's coming from a place of like.
But then most
racism,
times
but-
it's like a I can stop you. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm gonna let you know, sort of thing. It's
Yo,
sinister.
no, none of them frontline police officers want to stop people. It's paperwork.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it's the traffic that will stop you. That's their job. They like that.
Mm.
So yeah.
And certain other groups within the metropolitan.
What TSG? I'll say it.
Yeah. What's
Who
TSG?
enjoy it, who
Territorial
enjoy that
Support
level
Group.
of-
Oh, those are the ones that always drive around in a big van. Yeah.
the ones in the vans that just pull over people for whatever reason they can think of.
Mm.
Not that they
Tinted
have a
window.
quota. Oh, tinted window. That's a good one. Was it Dawn Butler that they pulled over? It wasn't Dawn Butler. They pulled over Labour MP.
Yeah, there was. It was done. Yeah,
Done
if
by-
we're talking about that particular stop, then yes, it was
Yeah.
about the Labour.
Do you know anyone who's done like that? That fuck up. Like, have you ever seen that video? And it is in America where these cops stop this guy, and he lets them list off the reasons why they've stopped him. And he goes, none of those reasons are fair enough to pull me over. And they're like, well, we can. And he's filming, and he pulls out an FBI badge. And he's
Oh,
like,
I've done that to the police.
oh, really?
Bro, I've not told you about it.
Oh, yeah. You told me. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, though.
I'll talk about it.
I love you
Okay.
pulled out FBI, but you think you know corruption?
Yeah. I'll make your ass disappear, son.
We're the guys who let Jeffrey Epstein do what he wants. Yeah, are you allowed to tell that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've been pulled over so many times that I was on my way into the police station. Didn't I tell you this already? I feel like
you
I've
did.
told
You
this.
told this one about
On my
yeah,
way
yeah.
into the police station, the TSG just waved me in, just like literally just before I turned off of not Belgrave Road, going into Belgrave police station. Just turned off the main road, and TSG was gone. Nah, you're in there, and I was gone. Okay, cool. Wound down my window, and he's just like, "I'll tell you what you've done in a second." And I was like, "Wow, okay, this is going to be real interesting considering I'm just driving to work, same job as you, bro." And then he goes, he comes over, his camera's not on. He didn't turn it on deliberately. You're supposed to turn it on in every interaction. So everyone, you should know that. And they're supposed to tell you that they're turning it on as well. Sometimes officers forget, so let them slide. But he's not turned it on. And then he's gone, like, where are you going? And I was just like, to work. And he's looked into my car, and then he's, someone else has come over. One of my, so the officers that were there, they know me. They've come over and they go, oh no, that's Dom. He's a police officer. He works here. The police officer just turned on his camera and went, yeah, so you're free to go now. And I was like, no, bro. You were going to tell me what I did wrong. What did I do wrong, officer? He was like, no, there's no reason for you to be here. Go away, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they do that.
Okay.
They legit, like, that is a whole thing.
Wasn't there? I don't know if the one you could talk about was the one you told me at the gym one time.
Which one? What did I do?
Where you was sat outside your house, I believe.
Oh, the one where I got sat outside my house and arrested?
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
Yeah.
Not for me, but everyone else loves it.
Yeah. Are you allowed to tell that story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. So I tried to like condense it for you.
No. Take it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hold on, sorry. So I was driving back from North London. It was silly o'clock. It was about let's say 2 a.m. I pulled up outside my mum's house. That's where I was staying at the time. It's before I had my house, and she's got a disabled bay. Mum's disabled, so I parked in it. That's where I park because that's the bay. And I'm sitting in there and I'm on the phone. You know, I'm not gonna walk into my house at 2-3 a.m. on the phone, especially as my mum's not really kind of expecting me to come back. So I sat outside and on the phone about half an hour. Then a police car comes down, and police officers will know what I'm talking about. There's a car, it's called the Panda cars. So those are the cars that aren't allowed to drive fast, aren't allowed to. They can put on their blue lights, but they're not allowed to chase people. They're not allowed to break the speed limit and all that stuff. And officers will know. We can kind of know the difference. One's pulled up, looked at me. The area car, so the BMW, the big boy that chases you. That's pulled up next to my car. He's looked in. I've looked at him, he's looked at me, and he's just driven off. So I was like, no biggie. Then the Panda comes after. So the normal Vauxhall Astras come behind, looked at me, and then they blocked me in. So I'm on the end of the road, so it's a junction, and they've parked their car, blocked me in, so I can't go anywhere. So immediately, that's just hostile.
Yeah.
You're like, they think I'm going to run away. So I'm just like, oh, here we go. I'm talking to my friend on the phone, and I'm like, oh, the police are going to come talk to me. She goes, can I listen? So I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck it, no problem. So I just said, don't say anything. You can just listen to the whole interaction, because people always want to hear how the police interact with people and other police officers. So it's 2 female officers. One's come over and she's just gone, oh, hi. Starts off nice. Hi, we've been called to the area because there was a burglary. And I've gone, hope it's not my house. Kind of like, yeah, break the ice. Hope it's not my house, haha. Which one was it? And she goes, oh, no. She sort of like brushed it off, ignored it, and she went, no. Have you seen anyone? And I was like, no one's been on this road. I've been there for about an hour. I've been sat here. And she goes, oh, okay, cool. Why have you been sat here? And I was just like, well, that's a silly question, because I'm sitting in my car.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm sitting in my car. And that's when I knew it was going downhill, because she was suspecting me now. So I was like, all right, look, before we even go down this line of you suspecting me, I've been sat here. I haven't seen anyone. And if you want to search me or my car, you can. Yeah? Just tell me why. So you need to give grounds to why you're searched. And she came back to me and she just went, look, I don't know what's missing from the burglary. So she doesn't know she hasn't got any grounds. She was like, I don't know. So I'm like, well, that's pointless. Why the hell are you talking to me? She then moves on to, are those your alcohol bottles on the floor? And I'm just like, right, is this how we're going? Like, haven't you got a burglar to catch? And she's like, no, are those yours? I said, look, I've moved those alcohol bottles out of the disabled base so I don't crush them with my car. I can tell you what 3 bottles they are. But I said, look, you can search me. I'll get out of the car, search me, just tell me what you're looking for. She doesn't know, so she can't do it. So she's actually abiding by the law. But that's frustrated her, because she's like, I can't do my job. So we've had that back and forth. And then she's sort of like, I get the vibe of her, she was going to back off and just leave it. And then she just went, okay, cool, we can end this right now if you just give me your name. And I was just like, what do you mean we can end it now? No, you can search me, just tell me what you're looking for. And she goes, no, just tell me your name and I'll leave you alone. And I was like, well, that's not how you exercise. That's not how you're supposed to do your job. So at this point, I'm angry. I'm just like, no, you're abusing your power now. You're demanding my name. Bear in mind, the police do not have the power to take your name unless you've committed an offence to which they need to give you a ticket. Do you get what I'm saying? So if I've done something to which they need to write my name down on this piece of paper to give me the penalty, then yes, you can get arrested for that. Outside of that, they can't. Yeah? And bear in mind, it's very specific. It has to be to give you a notice. Like, if you driving issue, or if you've done a PND that and I need to give you one, or you've got cannabis warning, those kind of things, those are the only offences to which the police can demand your name. And if you don't, you get arrested for that specific thing. So I've said that to her. I was just like, what do you mean? You can tell me the power that you're using to demand my name. And then she tried to pull the old switcheroo on me. She goes, well, you're in a parked car. You're driving on the road, so I can request your information and you have to give it to me. So under the Road Traffic Act, you have to give your details. Yeah. But if you read the Road Traffic Act, you have to supply your details. You don't have to tell them.
Here, like,
yeah, sorry, I'm just educating. So you have to give it to them. Most people just say their name. Or people like me, I just give you my driving license. Because you can do that. If you don't want to talk to the police, just give them your driving license and you can be quiet. Especially if you haven't done anything. So I said, look, because of the way that this is turned and the way you're suspecting me and the tone that you're using, I'll give you my driving license, but I haven't got it on me right now. It's inside my house, right there. She goes, well, I don't believe you live there. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to say my address, but I reel off my address. Like, boom, just reel it off and I say, there you go, there's my address. So we've got 2 options here. You can either go into my house and get my driving license, which I'm more than happy for you to do, or I'll go and get it and I'll bring it to you. No. She said, you're not doing either of those. You're going to tell me your name or I'm going to arrest you. So now she's pushed the bar all the way up. She's like, I'm going to arrest you. And I'm like, right, like, now it's arrest?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, what offence have I committed for you to think that me not giving your name leads to me being arrested? Because you only need it to give someone a fine. And she said, well, I believe that you stolen your car. And I said, even though the keys are right here. And she said, yeah. I said, the car's not lost or stolen. Like, is the car lost or stolen? And that's police terminology, lost or stolen. That's how we refer to cars. That's the call handler will say it. It's not LOS, lost or stolen. And that was basically me saying to her, I'm a police officer. Because no one else speaks like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, is the car lost or stolen? No, have you even checked? She's like, I don't need to check. I just need to suspect. And I'm like, wow, your understanding of the law is so naive, or you're just a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the two. And I said, look, no, you're abusing your position. You're abusing your power. I've given you, even though I don't have to, I've said you can search me. You can look for the stuff. It's not my fault. You don't know what the stuff is. So her colleague now comes. She's like, I'm going to arrest you. I said, boy, you're going to have to arrest me. Her colleague comes round. And this is a sign of a good colleague. She wasn't a good colleague in the end, but at that time she was acting like a good one. She tried to diffuse the situation immediately. She came round. She said, look, mate, can you just give me your name and we can just end this? And I said, you know what? You're so nice. If she had approached the situation like that, she would have got all the information she wanted. Now, you're going to have to do it the proper way. Because I could have just given it to you. Now you're going to have to do it the way in which you're supposed to do it. I'm going to make you do it. I'm not going to make this easy for you or make it quick for you. I wouldn't say easy, just quick. You're going to have to do your job properly so you can take my driving license. And then she just went, okay, cool. And she just left it. She weren't even trying to argue with me. The other officer, the initial officer, my window's down. She reaches into my car, grabs me by my shirt, and she's only about 5'4", and tries to drag me out the car, like through the window, like this is GTA. The door's not even open yet. Then she realizes, grabs the door, opens the door, because my car, as soon as I stop the car, all the doors open.
Yeah.
So she can just open it. She's opened the door, tried to drag me out the car. And this is when I was at like my biggest. So I was like 95, 96 kg, just me lifting weights like some just gym head.
Yeah, for those listening, Dom's 6'3" and like, it's,
So I was just, that was my biggest, and I was just, it was all muscle. And she's trying to pull me out, and I'm just sitting in my car, like, is it even the word? Passively resisting, is that a word? Or actively, passively resisting is the word I'll say. So I'm just sitting there, and I said, look, all I was saying to her is, if you ask me nicely, I'll get out of the car. And then she's dragging me by my shirt, trying to pull me out, can't do it. And my car's low to the floor, so it's just hard to get anyone out of it. And then she stops and she goes, fine, can you get out of the car, please? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I jump out the car. And then she says, are you going to give me your name or I'm going to arrest you? And I said, looks like you're going to have to arrest me, innit? And then she goes, fine then. So she arrests me. And I just say, well, how do you want to put my hands behind, front or back? She says, the back. So I put it at the back. She does them wrong. So I correct her on how to put handcuffs on properly. I said, you've applied them wrong. So I fixed the handcuffs. I said, you're going to break my arm. And if you break my arm, you're going to jail. So I'm gonna save you the time. Look, just do this. And I fixed it for her. And then the first car that came, remember the BMW that I told you that chases people, I didn't know that car was behind that car all that time.
Yeah.
That was the sergeant and the inspector. He's come out, the sergeant's come out, he's walked up to me, and he does what most sergeants do. He's walked up to me directly and just gone, yo mate, what's your name? And I've gone, my name's Idominik Efeotor. And he goes, why didn't you tell her that? And I've just gone, because you asked nicely.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, you asked nicely. And he was like, oh, you've wasted our time. I said, no, you are wasting your own time.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be looking for a burglar. Now you're arresting me on suspicion of theft of motor vehicle that you haven't even checked.
Yeah.
That's registered to the house. It's outside the house right now. And I've got the keys. So for you to even assume that it's just wild, you're doing it just to be a dick. And he's cool. He's just, all right, cool. So he's got my name. So from having my name, he can just run everything. So they start running all their checks. And then he's talking to me back and forth, just like, oh, yeah, how you doing? Oh, okay, cool. Don't worry, this will be done soon, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes, what do you do, mate? I said, I'm a police officer. And he goes, his face just went, because at this point now, he knows, fuck, we fucked up.
Yeah.
This is a police officer. He knows that his officer's done wild stuff already to me. So they're like, shit, we're going to get a complaint. So now he tries to, now it's all about rectifying it. It's now, okay, cool, I have to make this guy look bad now. Because we have to justify why he's in handcuffs, why we've taken him out of the car, why we've even stopped him in the first place. Do you know what I'm saying? We have to justify everything now because he's going to complain. So he goes, all right, cool. Where are you based? I'm like, I don't need to tell you that. I said, all we need to do is just finish this and we can deal with the car being stolen. And he was like, no. You think you're really smart. You think you're a smart guy, don't you? And I was like, I have been told that. I'm quite intelligent, yeah. And he's like, oh, you think you're a smart ass. And then he squares up to me and he comes, we're nose to nose. Bear in mind, I'm in handcuffs, nose to nose. And he goes, yeah, you think you're really smart. Why are you laughing? And I said, I'm laughing because if I didn't have handcuffs on, you wouldn't do this. And he goes, you want to bet? I said, yeah. I said, take them off and we'll see. I said, let's go. I'm like, let's go. Because at this point, I'm already pretty much arrested. I've been arrested. So I don't care.
Yeah.
If a police officer wants to fight me, we can fight.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So he's...
Whole time your friend's still on the phone.
Bro, the whole time, yeah, shout out you, and she knows who she is. She's on the phone, so she's like, raw, and the joke is she actually says raw, and everyone stops and goes, what's going on? And that's because she's in this...
There's someone in the boat. I knew he had something.
Bro, so she's like astounded, but she's still trying to stay quiet, and she's ringing my mum, like telling her to come outside and get my family outside because right now it's so early, everyone's sleeping.
Yeah.
And then I was praying that my sister didn't come outside because my sister would have got arrested.
Yeah.
She would have just been on smoke.
On smoke, yeah.
So where am I? He's squaring up to me and I'm just like, boy, like, yeah, we can fight if you want. And he doesn't. And then he goes, well, these are his words. I'm going to tell your commanding officer that you were aggressive, that you fought us, and that we had to use force against you. And I said, well, then you're a liar. And then I don't know why me calling him a liar pissed him off so much, but it fucking sent him right off. And he came back, he was like, I'm going to tell them that you're not going to have a job. You're just like a normal gang nominal, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, wow, like, being a liar gets to you. But, like, you know, wrongfully arresting black people doesn't. Right? Okay, cool. Then the other female officer comes back doing like she's done her checks and she's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, that's him. He lives right there, like he told us. This car's registered to this address here. And I said, yeah, you could have done that. I said, can you let go of me now, please? No. They're like, no, you can stay in the handcuffs. They kept me in the handcuffs for about an hour after, laughing, like legit, just laughing at me. And I'm just sitting there like, cool, we can do this. The inspector comes. And then the inspector goes, he's searching my car to try and arrest me for something. So he's looking under the wheel arch. He's checking the VIN number on the this is after they already know, I'm a police officer. They know that is my car. They know everything about it, and he's still looking. He then writes an email complaining about me. So you know when I said earlier that police officers can't complain? That only applies if you're not a ranking officer. So if you're of rank, you can complain downwards. Yeah. So you can shit down, you can shit on me. So he was an inspector, so he was just like, I'm gonna get this guy fired. He wrote a statement, you know, and this is, I don't think people understand what statement means. It's a legal document saying this is true. Right. This happened. So if we go to court, this is what I'm saying happened. On this. Do you get what I'm saying? Some people may just like, oh, it's just a statement. It's not. It's like, we go to court, they're using this as evidence. He said, this man never spoke to me, bear in mind, he never spoke to me at all. He said, I conducted myself as a gang nominal. So just imagine, that was his thought process.
What does gang nominal mean? Is that gang member? Like, what does that mean, sorry?
I'm guessing it only because I'm black.
Right.
Because I'm articulate enough. And I didn't do anything. I didn't have a knife, wasn't trying to rob anyone, so I can only assume it was and the only thing that he could see was the colour of my skin and me, because I wasn't arguing. He said that I conducted myself as a gang nominal, shouldn't be part of the Metropolitan Police, and alleged that I had assaulted his officers.
That's them after you now, bro.
Yeah, I know, they're coming for me, bro. My enemies are after me. But yeah, and to this day, like, I got disciplined for that.
Wow.
So they then took me into a misconduct hearing saying I didn't act courteous and kindly to my fellow officers. In that meeting, so in that misconduct meeting, the officer that was doing it said that if he was there, he would have dragged me out the car and put me face down on the floor. And obviously in that meeting I said, bet, let's go now.
Yeah.
And then he went, I said, that's really inappropriate, but we can do that now if you want. If you want to drag me on the floor now, we can see how that's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
Because there was 4 there before and none of them could do anything to me other than say that I beat them up. Let that sink in. They said I beat them up, all 4 of them. So you on your own, you ain't got a chance, my bro. And that was the person that was disciplining me.
Mad.
He was never even there. And he was like, I would have done this and I would have done that and you deserved it. And I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be impartial.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying about biases and how easy it is for people to get off or get disciplined.
So they all just carry on with their job as normal. There was no...
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it. This is what is the problem with it. It's like there's such an institution of like sticking together even when in the wrong.
Yeah,
that
but-
it creates this environment where anyone, because imagine you weren't a police or just even knowing the law. It seems to me sometimes when police officers come up to you and you know a little bit of the law, it fucks some of them off.
Yeah, man.
Because that means they can't then.
They can't take the piss.
They can't take the piss.
Yeah. And you got like hood lawyers. Don't tell them your star sign.
I love those guys who are like, no, he's smoking a spliff in his right hand and it's a Wednesday. They're legally not allowed.
All good, baby.
But that entire story, like the fact that those people are working still in the police.
Oh, yeah, all of them.
All stuck together. Nobody came along. And also, none of them went to the woman, hey, do you know what's a really, like, just on a practical, don't try to drag people out of their car when you're a 5'4", because you don't know who you're trying to drag out at the same time. Like it's so someone who's never dealt with anyone. Was this I don't want to debate with it, or South London?
Yeah,
in South London. Not everyone's gonna sit there and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Some people are they're not gonna care that you're a 5'4" woman. And it's a long walk from that car where your other officers are sat to get there. That 10 seconds that can take isn't that,
That's risk assessment.
We've got to wrap up in a
but fuck, man, that's unbelievable. Well, I feel a lot safer.
Yeah.
You should.
Bro,
But
is
no,
fucked up. They're all still in it.
I'll end on there are a ton of good police officers that work hard, come out here, risk their life and all that. I know loads of them.
I feel like I got to end on something light. You still fighting? You still
Yeah, man.
Yeah?
I won my last 2.
What is us? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What would you do again? I forgot. Is it the Muay Thai?
Yeah,
Shit.
it's K1.
When you guys fighting?
Me and Elliot.
Yeah.
I beat him up.
Bro, we had a spar the other week and we made a gentleman's agreement for no takedowns.
I took him down.
And then he took him down.
I took him down straight away.
And he doesn't wrestle.
My takedown's alright still, isn't it?
Yeah, my
I've got
takedowns
video.
are terrible.
I think we've got footage of that.
Oh my god, my takedowns are.
That's how you learn.
When you coming back to sparring? I haven't been sparring in ages.
Oh no, having a baby, not doing that.
Yeah.
Got to edit that out now because I just said baby.
Oh,
I
never
wrote
said
that down.
I never said
Not
that,
to
did
say
I?
it.
I said when you coming back to sparring.
But no, he
Yeah,
said
but I'm
it.
having a baby.
Oh, I've got to edit that bit out.
Nah, you don't. You just leave it now.
I can edit it out. It can all be edited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, nah, not
The
until
more we
probably
talk
June.
about it.
Okay.
Well, we're giving just 2 days and everything.
Should I cut that bit out? It's not.
Nah, I don't give a shit. You shit, really? Not in that context. It would have been in another context, I guess.
Okay,
But yeah,
okay,
nah, fuck
okay,
it, yeah.
okay.
But yeah, no. Yeah, I'll be back June-ish.
Mm.
And then, yeah, just beat some people up for a bit.
Yeah, man. Well, Spirit, thank you for coming in. You're always welcome on
I
the
appreciate
podcast,
it.
and
Yeah,
thank
man.
you for coming in.
First guest we've had on twice because it's so interesting every time.
I'm going to get you guys in to come sit with me with the commissioner. The new
Oh,
commissioner.
but that was
just
the most
banter
awkward
shit out
day
of
of
me.
my life, bruv. When I was sat there and I was the person who went first, and everyone else was asking these
You mean
deep.
when you left your ID at home and you tried to get into New Scotland Yard?
Why was I invited?
I got this call going, there's a guy here, he's wearing black and he's saying that he knows you but he wants to come in, and I come out and I see you blacked out, sweating, holding a coffee, looking like a member of Black Bloc. And I'm just like, oh,
in his Brexity.
Hi, Elliot.
A guy from Mozart Estate has turned up looking.
And it's just like, I was like, why? I was like, Elliot, why? And the thing is, I sent you several emails.
Say
I'm
your
not-
ID,
Remember
yeah.
your ID, and you're just like, yeah, sorry.
I know.
Sorry.
Why?
It's like,
Why was I? And then I had to ask the first question, and I had to think of something. So I was like, Mum was about like, do you think you ever like, do criminal like drugs or something like that? You gave a very good answer on like, no, that my job is not to make laws, it's to enforce them. So, which was, you know, that done. And then everyone else was asking these questions about like race, and it was getting a bit heated, and I was just there like, I probably shouldn't have been eating into everyone's time here.
Nah, it was calm.
He was like, oh, I had to come up with this question. I emailed you weeks before saying, what's your question?
I know you sound exactly like my agent who sends me all the information for something, and then the day of gets a phone call. We had Sean Walsh on this podcast a little while ago. Me and Sean were both doing the same gig. We were doing it was at this university in Wiltshire. And we ended up, I ended up accidentally taking both of us to Newport in Wales because I didn't look at their email properly. By the way, Sean blames me for that. Sean had done the gig before, but can I add, and just didn't speak up because he's a cowardly man who watched me take him to Paddington Station.
Is this you taking accountability for your actions?
No, I'm not one of those police officers, bro. There's a reason I'm not a police officer. But Don, man, thank you.
Hopefully, next time we'll have you on, things have changed. I don't know.
I might not have a job.
New permanent member.
And people can check this out on the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly podcast, which you host and do. It's a great podcast where you have acting commissioners on and stuff to talk about all of these issues.
Yeah, man. Commissioners next. I've got a good one with Mr. Booth, head of outreach. I've got the head of HR. I've got the head of all of the SLT come on my show. So if anyone wants to see any of like the insight into what or ask any questions, just do it. Just watch it, man.
Well, thank you to our listeners. We're on Patreon. So sign up for that.
Feb 19th, I'm at Leicester Comedy Festival. So buy tickets to that.
And on February 8th, I'll be at Leicester Comedy Festival as well. Buy tickets to that one as well.
And this has been B-Tech. Thank you for listening. Next episode 50. It's going to be special. Don't know why. We haven't planned anything.
Nothing.
But we'll see you next time, man. Thanks so much.